Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for chatting today. How's everything with you and your bubble?
It is, I've been a bit extraordinarily lucky in that I was in London when lockdown happened, and my family have a farm in the countryside about 3 hours outside. So as soon as everything shut down, me and my boyfriend just got in a car and drove to the countryside. So I've been in amazing nature, which is really lovely. I feel very grateful for it. And I've just been spending lots of time outside and yeah.
I can actually hear the birds tweeting at the moment. It must be bliss. Lovely.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's so funny, isn't it? When because it must be the same with you, that there's much less traffic and planes and stuff.
Yes.
And even in the middle of the countryside, there's so many more birds and so many more butterflies and deer and stuff everywhere. You sort of think, God, this is what it would be like if we weren't constantly intruding on their habitat.
Absolutely. Even in New Zealand, obviously, we've got a beautiful country, but yeah, I noticed it too when we were in lockdown. Obviously, we were out, but when I was in the city, just hearing the tuis and just the birds that you wouldn't normally expect to hear when you're down. So yeah. So you've been an actor for over 16 years. Why do you love acting?
Why? Well, I love storytelling. You know, I always have since I was a kid. I think it's a really innate part of humanity. You know, kids play and tell stories and sort of take on characters all the time, and I think so. There's a beautiful sense of play, and sort of it feels very natural. I think. I really kind of like the puzzle of it. I really like sort of trying. I really like figuring out sort of how someone else thinks and what makes them tick. It's sort of, I love that side of it, and I find it quite. There's certain things that when you really feel in flow when you're doing them, it feels like that to me, sort of almost. Sort of meditative, not necessarily in a sort of still, quiet way, but it feels like a sort of a flow of energy and expression that feels right for me. People have different things, don't they? And art and drawing and sculpting, but this is
thing.
My thing.
So have you always wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, I don't remember ever not wanting to be one. I did it, I did lots of amateur stuff when I was a kid, and my mum's very musical and into drama and stuff, so I was always around it. I think I did always want to. I don't know if I ever kind of necessarily thought of it as a career when I was a kid, but I just practiced it a lot, so it kind of felt natural to continue with it. Yeah.
So I imagine when you're on set, it can be busy, stressful, and you'd have to be working long hours. How do you manage to look after your well-being when you're working?
I kind of developed a few little patterns. I think everyone has their own thing about how best to keep yourself present and engaged. The thing that sort of is most tricky about filming like that is that because you have huge periods of time when you're not doing anything, and then you very quickly have to be in a scene. So it's kind of keeping yourself rolling, keeping yourself energized still without depleting yourself. So it's really tempting. It's really, really tempting when you're sitting on set to be on your phone all the time. In downtime, and I really try not to take my phone to set at all anymore, because I get sucked into a vortex that is unhelpful for me. So I try to move around a lot, and I like talking to the crew a lot and engaging with other people. I make sure, the thing that I was last filming, we were in a studio the whole time. There's lots of haze and smoke and stuff, so I make sure I get light, to get fresh air and listen to music. But also, it can also be tempting to sort of sometimes I have to because I really like talking to people and finding out about what's going on for other people. Sometimes I have to be a bit careful to remind myself to like conserve a bit of energy, because otherwise you can be sort of, you can use it all up before you actually shoot the bit that you need to you need to have it for. But yeah, that's kind of what I do.
So when you're not filming, do you schedule time for your well-being, or are you someone who just finds it, you know, comes naturally to have a bit of downtime? And what kinds of activities do you like to do that help?
I'm really bad at structuring stuff for myself. I find it really difficult. But whenever I do it, I find it so helpful. So I find if I can meditate and do a bit of yoga every day, it makes a massive difference to me. But I have to really make myself do it for the first week, kind of thing, because I just get distracted or sort of get up late or whatever. But once if I can get into a routine with that, I find it so good for mental health and just grounding and finding some calm. So I try to do that. It works sometimes and sometimes doesn't. But what else? Getting out in nature a lot. And movement. I love dance. I find it such a helpful release of sort of energy and blocks and stuff. So anything that's sort of about free movement that isn't not like learnt dance, that's gorgeous too, but in a different way. But I mean, just sort of shaking it off and being who you are in it. And I try to, now and then when I have the time, I try to go on retreats and things and just take a bit of space for myself. I think it's really important to have your own time a bit when you can fit it in, if you can, even if it's just a walk or yeah.
So throughout your life, have you ever experienced anxiety? I mean, I'm assuming your job can be very high pressure. Have you ever experienced any kind of mental illness like that?
Yeah, I totally have experienced anxiety and bits of depression and stuff. I sort of don't know anyone who hasn't, to be honest. Yes. I think it's just it's part of being a human. And yeah, I have. And I think the thing that helps me the most is because if I have been in a state like that, I feel like it generally is about worrying about the future or worrying about the past, and it's really hard and that's kind of when my brain goes and gets caught up with. So to me, the thing that helps most is sort of coming back into trying to sort of connect to my body in the moment that it's in, and that's why I like dance and stuff so much, because you can just not be ruled by your head, let other things move through. So I find like physically trying to physically connect with my body rather than spinning off into thoughts is generally kind of been helpful for me.
Okay. So what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh God.
Could be about anything.
Someone said this is like the best thing ever, but someone once said a really nice thing to me about it, that they said never laugh at the way that anyone laughs or anyone dances, because it's such a pure expression of joy and someone's spirit that it's really crushing. And so like whenever anyone does anything that's a sort of instinctive expression of themselves, like enjoy it and applaud it and let it sort of live. You know that tendency if someone does a silly laugh or a silly dance and you kind of snigger or something. I know that's not life advice as such, but I thought it's really nice.
That's something that stuck with you, and a good thing. Yeah.
And I guess one of the other things that I've been that feels important to me at the moment is because so many people are having such a hard time at the moment, and I feel like everyone I know is having waves of it, and sort of some days feeling really peaceful and sort of centered, and some days really frustrated and lost and low. And I feel like for me and loads of other people I know, when people are suffering, there's a tendency that I have to try and solve it for them. And actually I'm learning that sort of the best way to sort of help people, and that I find most helpful if I'm in a position like that, is just to listen and not try and fix it. And there's so much empowerment in that, as the person going through something, just to be able to express what's going on and get it out, and you just sort of gently holding the space rather than trying to kind of necessarily problem solve something for them. Yeah.
That's
I'm trying to practice that at the moment.
advice. Who is someone that you admire and why?
So many people. I very much admire my mum. She's a gorgeous, positive energy for good. She sort of sees the light in everything, and has infinite sort of love and care for people, and she sees everything that comes her way. She sees as an opportunity for some sort of growth, and it's infectious and gorgeous. So probably her.
It must be lovely then to be able to, go spend lockdown or the pandemic with your family on the farm. That must be, yeah.
It's been so nice. I'm here with my dad and my brother and my boyfriend, and you know, there are so many difficult things going on in the world at the moment, but there are gorgeous things that come out of situations like this as well. And to have spent this time with my family, who I've never spent this much time with my dad or my brother, I don't think. So it feels really precious in lots of ways, and to get to know them better. And I think, I really hope that the positive things that everyone's learning during this time we can hold on to and sort of take forward into whatever comes in the future.
Absolutely. So what's your greatest accomplishment so far?
I mean, it's probably more of an internal thing, really, of sort of learning to accept myself more, I think, and kind of get out of my own way a bit. Do you know what I mean? Sort of, I feel like I spent so much time when I was younger sort of worrying about what other people think, or sort of trying to fit into something. And I feel like, it's an ongoing process, but it feels so liberating and sort of truthful when you can sort of just accept everything that you are and just let it be. And I find, so probably that. I mean, I haven't entirely accomplished it, but sometimes.
Yeah. And your greatest fear?
My greatest fear, I suppose, is that we won't learn as humanity from these huge lessons we're being given, and that we won't, that people will try to go back to what it was, or there's such an opportunity for change at the moment, and I really have hope for it, but that would be my biggest fear, that it kind of goes backwards.
And we don't learn from it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to talk about your latest role. A huge congratulations, Snowpiercer. I'm on to episode 6. I absolutely love it. In New Zealand, it comes out every Tuesday, so I watched the latest one today. You play the role of Josie. What drew you to that role? What do you love about her?
I really love playing someone who's got real strength to them, and sort of real, well, it's the juxtaposition of having real heart and sensitivity and sort of care, but also a sort of warrior and a fighter, and won't be sort of screwed over or swayed. So I like sort of holding both those things at the same time, and that can be in conflict sometimes with each other. Yeah, and I really love the concept of the whole thing of the story as a whole, and obviously watched the film and love.
Oh, you did? Yep.
Yeah, have you seen it?
So I watched the first two episodes, and then of course I started Googling and saw that it was, a movie.
Yeah.
And then obviously the books. I haven't read the books, but yeah, no, I've watched the movie. But
yeah,
I've
cool,
told,
isn't it?
yeah, I've told all my colleagues at work about, because we often talk about, especially when we were in lockdown.
Yeah.
At home, you're like, oh, what are you watching on Netflix? We're not, obviously, we're not in lockdown anymore, but we still, oh, what are you watching? And so everyone, well, a lot of my friends now are watching Snowpiercer, and yeah,
nice.
So yeah, Josie is someone who's fierce. She's a warrior, but she also looks out for everyone in the tale. Do you see any similarities in your personality to Josie's?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always part of you that you bring to acting. So yes, yeah, I've got a really strong sense of injustice. It makes my blood boil. So it's quite good to use that to tap into. And I think the thing that the reason I think the tale works, or the thing that's sort of unique about it, that I believe in my life as well, is that your own well-being is part of a collective, and so I don't think it can be that I am well if the people around me aren't. So I think it's that thing of everyone looking after each other, and then as a community you can thrive, rather than it being a self-focused and self-centered goal to sort of get what you want or improve your life. It's that's why the tale works, I think, because there's a group responsibility for each other, which feels really true to life. I love that Josie kind of is, that's very important to her, and it is in my life too. So
Are there any parts or that have really you really enjoyed shooting that you're allowed to talk about, or has it just been an amazing experience with the whole cast and crew? You talked about the fact that you love getting to know people, so
yeah, it's such a gorgeous group of people. We all get on really well. Yeah, I'm really grateful for them and all the friends I've made during it. Yeah, the whole thing was a bit of a joy, really. I loved it. It's kind of the variety of it as well, sort of getting to play lots of sort of intimate small moments but as well learning to fight and doing stunt stuff, and it's kind of a bit of a dream. And actually one of my favorite bits is in the next episode, which we'll get next week. So I probably shouldn't talk about it yet, but
no, I'll yeah, I will make sure that I tune in next week to see. Yeah. I actually went back and started watching episode 1 again last week.
Right.
Yeah. So, before lockdown or before the pandemic, were you working on anything else that you can talk about or share, or have you got any other projects lined up that you're allowed to?
Yeah, I was filming something which I can't really talk about at the moment, but it got cut short because of lockdown. So we're hoping to go back.
Brilliant.
Wait to finish that. And yeah, so that's kind of hovering. So hopefully in the next couple of months we'll be able to finish it, and then there's maybe something next year. And I'm writing some of my own stuff at the moment, which
Wow.
it's really nice to have some time and space to do that, which feels really exciting. So
a screenplay, a book, or
a TV thing, yeah.
wow,
Yeah, so
a woman
we'll
of many talents.
well, we hope.
Hey Katie, thank you so much for chatting today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And as I say, I am absolutely loving Snowpiercer. I can't wait to see you next week and see where it all ends.
Brilliant. I really hope to come over there sometime. I'm desperate to come to New Zealand.
Oh yeah, well, when you do, you'll have to. I can be your tour guide. I'm a proud Kiwi. I'd love to show you around.
Amazing, thank you. I'll take you up on that.